Now over to Vikas ji to start the first session.
Okay, so we are working on this workshop training of the trainers, and this is what I was telling you, that we are here for the knowledge, for the learning. So we need to have a two-way communication, interaction with each other. I don't think so that I should complete one topic and then we should, start discussing about the queries or the question answer round. But whenever you think, whenever you feel that you want to know something, you should, directly tell me, and you should directly ask me that what do you understand by so and so, right? So you can stop me anywhere in between also. And then the important thing is that I'm going to focus on the methodology. I am going to focus on the technicalities of this particular field of cinema. So I already told you that if the knowledge is coming from the teacher and going to the student for their understanding, we need to have certain technology or techniques, the way, the method that we should adopt as a trainer, as a teacher. We should adopt these technologies. For example, if I'm teaching, I'm making use of the PPTs, I'm making use of the audios, I'm making use of the visuals, right? So all these things come under the technologies. So use of technologies correctly means technicalities, right? So I'm going to focus on this particular method also. Now moving ahead, this is very, very important thing. Whenever we as a teacher teaching you, we should concentrate, we should focus, we should, brush up our basics. That means we should know the roots of the topic. We should know the terms or the terminologies of this particular field. That I call basics. For example, if I got this topic of evaluation of cinema, how it has evolved, how cinema has evolved, that means we have to not directly jump into the development of cinema and whatever happened with cinema over so many years, decades, but try to make your students understand the word evaluation and then the word cinema. So your students should know the keywords, the important components of the topics first. They should know the basics, and then you should move to the main topic. So these basics should be very much clear. In the last workshop also, and whenever I'm teaching, I do take this particular topic for at least 5 minutes. Okay, where I try to, brush up, where I try to, make the three terms clear in the minds of my students or colleagues or the trainers. That what do you understand by film or cinema or movies? Maybe some of us, we already know. That's a good thing. But maybe some of us are, using the word cinema in place of films or using movies in place of film. So we should know the basic or the root meaning of all these terms. So what term to use and where to use, where we are using film, where we are using cinema, where we are using movies. So I have already told that we should concentrate on basics. So whenever we are talking about a particular product that has come from an industry or a factory, that product is film. And why we are calling it a product? Because obviously it has come from the cinema industry. A film industry has produced, has created that particular product, which is now called film. Also, this product is based on proper structure. Proper structure means proper narrative. There is a proper structure, the beginning, middle, and end. Okay, beginning, middle, and end. So we have this finished product, which we are calling film. So whenever we are using this word, it's a professional word, and we should use this word. We should not use the word movies. I'll come to that also. So film is a professional word that we should use. It's a product. It's a series of moving pictures with proper structure. That structure is beginning, middle, and end. That is telling a story, right? And what is cinema? When we are clubbing a lot of films together that have similar themes, we can name it group of films, we can name it cinema. Also, cinema is an industry. It's a process from idea to screen to exhibition. So when we are at the stage, development stage, from the development stage to the exhibition of the film, whatever comes, that is cinema. So cinema is an umbrella term, and that umbrella term or that industry is producing a product that is called film. Also, you know, cinema halls, a place or the theater. What about movie? Movie is any recording of moving images, right? Any recording. Maybe I'll take my mobile, I will start recording whatever is, you know, around me, and I will make a small story. It's a movie, a recording that has moving images. It is movie. Maybe it has structure, maybe it does not have any structure, maybe it is shot on video format, right? So movie is a very layman language word. So whenever the students, college students, school students, they are oftenly using this term, let's go and watch a movie, right? So it's a very layman language. So as a professionals, as a trainer, we should not use this word movie when we are talking about a proper film. We will always use the word film. So this is the basic thing that I wanted to share with you, and you should also share with your students. And definitely you will get all these PPTs. So put your concentration on whatever I'm saying on the screen also, and definitely you will get all these PPTs after the session. Now, when we have this topic of evolution of cinema, that means how it emerged and how it has developed. See, whatever we are studying, maybe if you are studying about a person, you should go back and see, research about his background. Where is he from? What specialization was he, you know, getting? What he was doing before entering into a particular field? So this gives a basic background and solid information about your, you know, knowledge. So
Vikas ji, sorry to
yes,
interrupt. Kindly excuse me. There are
yes,
small requests from the participants. One is to
yes.
go for slideshow view G, because they are not able to read the PPT. That's number one. Number
Okay,
two, your microphone is hitting some paper. Some kind of noise is coming, G. These are the two observations, G. Yeah.
okay. This is
Thank
my
you.
full screen now, and
Excellent. Excellent.
just let me know if my audio is now fine.
Excellent.
I hope
Excellent.
it is coming finely, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking about the basics. Now let me move to the, you know, this particular topic, evolution of cinema, how it has emerged and developed. So whenever I'm taking this particular topic, I actually talk about the birth of cinema first, right? And in birth of cinema, I talk about what was happening before cinema came. This is very important thing. Whenever we are talking about radio also, television also, or any other print media also, so what was happening before we got this particular medium? So we are talking about cinema as a medium. So before cinema, what was there? How it got, you know, developed, how it got emerged. So I'll be talking about that. And then how we moved to cinema, what was the, you know, starting, the initial period of cinema, what kind of films we were making, what kind of cinema we were, you know, going through. And then particularly evolution of cinema. Here I have divided it into eras or the periods, so that we will get a proper understanding of each era period along with their filmmakers, along with the films, in a very simple manner. So this is how I go. So in era, I have divided into silent era. Then after silent era, sequence we have done it. After silent era, sound era came, and then color era, golden era, and we are calling it classical era also. then contemporary era. Till date we have. We are not using the word modern because modern changes, the era modern changes. So it's a concept. Modern or modernism is a concept. But when we talk about cinema, the present time is contemporary era, right? So before moving further, let me also clear you the difference between golden era or the classical period that we have mentioned. Golden means a period, an era where we were having a lot of good filmmakers, where we were having a lot of good cinemas of all the genres, of all the kinds. Like we were having realism also, realistic films. We were having art films also, experimental films also. And third, we were having commercial films, entertainment films also. And all these three kinds of cinemas, they emerged together, they were working together, and all the cinemas were watched by the audience simultaneously. Means audience were not, giving the choice that I like only art films or experimental films, so I will watch that only. No, the audience was watching the art film also, realistic films also, plus the commercial films also simultaneously. So audience was watching all these kind of cinemas together. Plus, these films got the international recognition also. They were not famous in their particular country, but yes, they became famous in other part of the world also. Filmmakers started watching these films. They started making such kind of cinemas in other countries also. So that's why we are calling it golden era. That first three kinds of cinema emerged together, and they all were successful. The audience were watching all of them. Plus, these cinemas, got recognition internationally also. And why we are calling it a classical era, and how it is different from golden era. The word golden and classical era, the difference between them. Classical means something that is evergreen. That is evergreen, and evergreen means till date. If we go through the content of this particular film or cinema that was there in the golden period, we still find it very updated, whether the content of the film, the story of the film, or the technologies that have been used to make the films, maybe the camera, cinematography, editing, sound, right? So when we have the updated evergreen, the content, the story, the technologies used in the film, and till date, after so many decades, till date, when we are teaching those films, we are watching those films, and we are finding it very updated, and we are finding the elements, today's element in those films, maybe in the content of the film. Maybe they were talking about the modern mind, maybe they were talking about something very updated theme related to marriage institute, or related to education, related to any other field. So that means it's a classical film, evergreen, till date it's present in this present world. So that's the difference between the golden era and the classical era. So moving ahead, when we are talking about the origin or the growth of cinema, we are actually talking about the persistence of vision, very important concept. Then we have to talk about geotrope. Then we have to talk about series of photography, Lumiere brothers, George Méliès, and D.W. Griffith. This will give you a great knowledge about the birth and origin of cinema, right? So as I have already mentioned, we have to be with the basics. So I can say that the cinema emerged with Lumiere brothers, the fourth point. But before that, what was happening and why? What was the need of this particular field of cinema? So for that, we need to understand three important concepts. One is persistence of vision. So persistence of vision is a scientific concept. We should know that our early filmmakers, they never studied about films. We were not having film schools. until 1990 that the first film school came in Russia. So before that, we were not having any film school. So from where they were getting the information, knowledge, technicalities, and technology for making the films? These early filmmakers, they were from science background, engineering background. So they were trying to bring something from their specialized fields. They were trying to bring something, important from their particular areas, which they have studied. So persistence of vision is a scientific term that was adopted in films in 1895. And what does it means? It's a simple concept of visuals, a human eyes visuals. Persistence of vision says that if there is any one particular image in front of human eyes, for example, if I have one particular image in front of my eyes, okay, so this particular image, if I remove this image, then also this image will remain or retrieve in the eyes of the human for fraction of seconds, right? So it will go slowly. No matter if we have removed the image, still it will go very slowly, and then another image will come slowly. So there won't be a jerk between two images. Suppose if I'm watching on the screen and suddenly someone knocks on the door, which is on my right side. So I have to move my, face from the screen to the door. So first image is screen, second image is the door. Someone is on the door. So I have two images. Now, when I'm watching one image, there is no jerk or jump when I watch the second image, because the first image of the screen is going slowly. It takes fraction of seconds, and then the second image comes. So there is slope down and slope up. Slope down of first image and slope up of second image. Simple science. It's a science of visuals, right? So it's called persistence of vision. Now what happened? There was this Chinese entrepreneur. They made this toy, Geotrop, that used to look like this. So these entrepreneurs, they have used persistence of vision, the concept of persistence of vision. What they did, they took this lamp-like toy, and they actually painted the images of human. You can see the images of the human, and with little changes. So what happened? There are different images. So when the children used to revolve this lamp, then they used to peep from inside. From here, they used to peep in, right? Then what kind of impression or illusion they used to get? That these images or the person inside this lamp, he's dancing or moving or walking, right? So one after the another, they put the image with little changes, following the persistence of vision. And then in the modern world, you can think over it, that what we use, the students, they are using flip cards or flip books. What they do, they draw on one page a particular image, and then some little changes in second page, little changes in third page, and then they flip it. They flip it with the fingers, with the thumb, and then what illusion we get? Illusion of movement. So here we are actually trying to create some kind of illusion of movement with painted images, or with printed images or painted images. So this was our persistence of vision, how we have used. We means entrepreneur, not the filmmakers. So how entrepreneurs have used this to create a Chinese toy and created our illusion of movement. Now there is a famous still photographer. There was a famous still photographer, Edward Muybridge, and he created this innovation series of photography in 1878. He is Edward Muybridge, and he actually created this innovation, which is called series of photography. Now, what is this series of photography? Because he was a still photographer, he was, very expert in still photography. So he wanted to have the illusion of movement with his still photography. So what he did, he actually captured a particular action with his still photography. Means he placed 16 cameras. He placed 16 still cameras and captured one particular action. For example, an important clip that he has made, a small video he has made with this innovation, which is called, riding a horse. So there was a man who was riding a horse, and he placed 16 cameras, and these 16 cameras actually captured one by one sequentially the action of the horse rider. And then he watched the photo, and then bring these 16 still photos together, gave a loop to these 16 still photos, and it created the illusion of movement. We should see this movement. One second. Also note, on the left side of the frame, you can count the number of still cameras were engaged. There are 16 still photos. So there were 16 cameras that recorded this particular film or the video. On the left side down, he has brought this innovation series of photography and tried to bring the illusion of what? Illusion of motion. Now there was a demand, there was a need of capturing the motion picture. Till when we can, do this stop motion kind of filmmaking. We also called it, modern times we call it stop motion filmmaking. So till when we can do this stop motion kind of filmmaking, where we are using still photography. So these French filmmakers, these were two brothers, Lumiere brothers. One was Auguste and second was Louis. They came in 1895, and they started making small videos, clips, and then gradually moved to films. So they have started working with a machine called cinematography. Cinematography was a machine. Why I'm calling it a machine? Because it was a camera, it was an editing machine, it was a projector. Three work it used to do: capturing of the moving image, then editing of the images, and then the projection of the images. So it was a huge image. It was a huge machine. So earlier we were not having, those movements or, moving shots, because the machine was very, it was very huge, very bulky. So they have made few films. Let's see their first film, very important film that they have made. So this was workers coming out of the factory or employees leaving the Lumiere's factory. What happened? They have just put the camera outside the gate of their production house, of their Lumiere factory, right? So in the evening, when these people, the workers, they are coming out from the factory and going home, they just captured it. They have captured the real event of how the people are moving or coming out from the factory after a day-long work, and what they are talking, what they are discussing, how they are moving. So this is the first film that they have captured with cinematography. Okay, along with this small video, they have also made, after a year, they have made a film which is called Arriving of a Train. So again, what they did, this earlier film that was made is in 1985, and the Arrival of a Train, it was made in 1896. So this particular short film, they have just put the camera on the platform and capture whatever is happening. Again, the real thing that was happening, they have captured it. Okay, so this was this small only. Along with this also, they actually tried, this was two example of real films that they were making. The film critics, they have also called it a documentary, short documentary film, because they were capturing the realism, right? And then they started making little bit fictional films also. So just watch this comedy genre fiction film where a gardener is gardening and one person comes and disturbs him. So did you see the restriction that the gardener has to bring that particular person within the frame, back within the frame, because we could not move the camera. It was so bulky and huge that we had a static frame only. So these were the few examples of the films that was made by Lumiere Brothers, right? Now, gradually we have moved to another innovation by George Méliès. Whenever we are taking this name, George Méliès, again, he was not from film background like Lumiere Brothers. They were all, he was, he was a magician. He was a magician and he used to create illusions. Obviously, magic is based on illusions only. So he brought his specialization in the films. So George Méliès is very famous for science fiction. He has given science fiction or special effects to cinema world, to the entire cinema industry in the world. So how he has given these special effects or science fiction? He has given three important techniques. One is dissolve, second is trick camera, and third is multiple exposure. So let's discuss it very concisely. Dissolve is a transition that is used for time lapse. Whenever we want to show that time has passed, so we can put a transition. Dissolve means we are the end of one shot will get superimposed by the beginning of the another shot. So we are superimposing the end and the beginning of two shots, three shots, four shots together, and it will give the illusion that time has passed. For example, if teacher is taking class for 3 hours, it will become very difficult to show convey the message that time has passed. So we can use dissolve. So this was given by George Méliès. Second is trick camera. Trick camera means playing with the camera, some kind of trick. Example, if you want to vanish away any character from the frame. So what he did, he made a static frame, a particular standard frame. He brought the character inside. Character was doing something, and then he paused. He stopped the camera, and then he removed the character from the frame, and then again he opened the camera, He on the camera and then he captured within that static standard frame only, and it gave illusion that suddenly the character has vanished. So this is one kind of trick that he has brought in the cinema. Then multiple exposure. This means that we are superimposing one shot with another shot. You know, one shot will be totally transparent, other shot will be totally transparent, third shot will also be transparent, and then we are superimposing these 3-4 shots together, and it will give the information, more information in less time, right? So this is called multiple exposure, when we are superimposing 3-4 shots together, and we are getting the information of all these 3-4 shots in one particular shot only. So George Méliès has made a very wonderful, beautiful film in 1902, and the film was A Trip to the Moon. It's available on YouTube. I must suggest you to watch that film, A Trip to the Moon. Though I have that film, but it will take another, it's for 14 minutes. So it will take a lot of time to watch that film. You can surely watch that particular film. This is one of your assignment for day after tomorrow. We will discuss. Watch the film A Trip to the Moon. I will just show you the name so that you won't miss it. You can write down the name of the film, and its English version is A Trip to the Moon. This is easily available on YouTube with HD version. Just watch this film and you will see that how these people, they are actually planning to visit moon. What happens, what all happens in the moon, and how they come back, how they struggle in moon, and then they come back to their world, and then they celebrate. So it's a nice short film. This is the first short film based on science fiction. So this huge genre of science fiction is actually started with George Méliès with his film A Trip to the Moon. This is the name, A Trip to the Moon, that came in 1902. Okay, moving ahead. So we'll discuss this film, whatever questions, queries you have on 16th when we'll have our next session. So first watch this film and then we can discuss these 3 points also then. Okay, after that, it's also important to actually talk about D.W. Griffith. So he is the father of Western narrative. We have father of every cinema, like for Indian industry, we have father for Dadasaheb Phalke, like that we have father of Western cinema. When we talk about narrative structure, it's D.W. Griffith, because he was the one who actually brought the first fiction film. So he has joined this Biograph company and he has made more than 100 short films as a director. He has made the very first film, The Adventure of Dolly, in 1908. What is important to understand, what technologies or techniques he has brought in the cinema industry. The first important innovation or technology that he has brought or given to cinema world was narrative structure. Narrative structure means a proper beginning, middle, and end, a proper sequence, right? So we might work with the middle first and end first, then go back in beginning, That is perfectly fine. But in a film, we should have a proper structure. We should have beginning also, middle also, and also. This is called narrative structure, proper structure. So it was D.W. Griffith who has brought this structure, narrative structure in the films. We also know these structure with the name Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, or the technical name is setup, confrontation, and let's see. So the technical name is setup, confrontation, and resolution. So this is called a proper structure, 3-act structure that was compiled by Sitfield. He is the film critic, theorist, and writer who has discussed things with early filmmakers, how they are making films based on proper narrative structure. And till date, filmmakers are using this proper structure. You can have this PPT and go through this structure. So D.W. Griffith was the one who actually brought this particular structure in cinema. Then he has actually worked with intercuts or cross-cutting. Intercut means whenever we are showing some shots of the same time, maybe we are taking session at this particular time over here. Maybe there are certain students who were supposed to attend the session, but they are engaged somewhere. Maybe some of the participants, maybe they are engaged in their professional work today. They could not attend the class. Maybe some of them are not well. They are resting in their, they are sleeping, they are resting at their home. So at the same time, at a particular time, when we are showing the shots of different locations and, subjects, then it becomes intercut or cross-cutting. Again, brought by D.W. Griffith. Flashback. We all know what is flashback. Going back in the past, that is flashback. Fade in, fade out. From black to the exposure, we are watching a particular shot, or from a particular shot, we are going to black or dark. So fade in, fade out. Interpositioning of close-ups within a scene. So earlier we were not used to close-up shots, but D.W. Griffith gave the importance of close-up, that it is very important to capture the expressions, emotions of the character. So he brought this technique of taking the close-ups of the characters or the objects. Then moderated acting style, that before cinema we were having theaters. So when we started cinema, a lot of theatrical people came and joined the production houses like Biograph production company as an artist, and they used to do very theatrical acting. So D.W. Griffith was not satisfied with this theatrical acting. He wanted to have moderated acting. So this was the main reason that he got, some clashes in this production house Biograph. So he has left this production house Biograph, and he worked independently. Independently means he put his money, or he got money from, little finance provider, or little money from some producer. Means there was no a big production house who was actually supporting him financially. He was putting his own money or taking little money from somewhere else. So as an independent filmmaker, he made his first film, The Birth of a Nation. Again, very important classical film. You should watch. It's a very big 3 hours, plus film, means more than 3 hours film. So, but it's again a contemporary film. Means this film was talking about the contemporary American society, means American society of that time. So a very updated concept, and technology was also used, very updated technology. We can learn a lot of things from this particular film. So you can see how much was the budget and how much he has earned. We have given you the amount also over there. So it was based on the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and reconstruction of the nation. Controversy was there. When you'll go and watch this film and read about it, you will find what was the controversy between the white Americans and black Americans, and how they have actually tried to stop this film from screening. And when they did this in the real, event, they tried to stop the screening of the film. Then our this filmmaker D.W. Griffith, he realized that people are very, intolerant. They cannot tolerate the realistic things, or they cannot tolerate the reality. So just after this film, in the next year only, he made this particular film, Intolerance, where he was talking about intolerance, or the scenario that he has seen during the screening of his first film, that how people, they became very intolerant. So Intolerance was his next project. So like this, he has moved further. Now, it is also important to know that there was a film school, the Moscow Film School, started in Russia. A lot of, filmmakers went there and they started taking workshops. So Soviet montage, if you have heard about this term montage, so Soviet montage is started from here, from this Moscow Film School. Now, in this particular school, they have also made a film, A Man with a Movie Camera, in 1929. And all these cinematographic techniques they have used, like multiple exposure, fast motion, slow motion, freeze frame, match cut, jump cut, split screens, all these techniques they have used in this particular film, which is also called a documentary film. And if you are teaching, or if you have some understanding about documentaries, I think you will name this particular documentary film as the participatory mode of film. Participatory mode of film means whenever the director or the cinematographer or the filmmaker is actually participating in the film, he's coming within the shot and scenes, and we can see the filmmaker or the director or the cinematographer that he's capturing some kind of incident or some shots he's taking, and we are aware, we as an audience, we are aware of this fact, the filmmaker is also participating in the narrative. So this becomes the participatory mode of documentary. So it's a very good film and good example of participatory documentary film. Man with a Moving Camera is talking about the routine work of people, how they are working in their entire day. So he's actually capturing the city, the urban city, and he's capturing the daily problems, struggling of people of that particular city, right? So you should also watch this film on YouTube. It's available. And if you have any question, you can definitely discuss with me. Now, when we are saying that now we have developed D.W. Griffith and other filmmakers, George Malice, all these have come, and this film school have brought a lot of filmmakers together. So they have actually given this documents or paperwork, means they were working, the writers, filmmakers, they were working with this paperwork documents, and we till date we are following it. So it is very important to understand that whenever we say development stage or pre-production stage, we have these important documents which was started from early filmmakers, and filmmakers from silent era and sound era and golden era. They all were working on these documents. So one is genre, the kind of cinema you are making, non-fiction, fiction, or in fiction also you are making comedy or romance, this is genre. Subject, whether you are making film on education, film on children, film on women empowerment, this is your subject. Concept means the essence of the story, a journal message of the story. For example, if you are talking about humanity as a subject is humanity, the concept can be humanity has no religious boundary. It becomes a concept of the film, a journal view, or the essence of the story. I repeat, the essence of the story is called concept. Example, If we have the subject humanity, the concept will be humanity has no religious boundaries. And then comes idea. Idea goes with a character, that there was a character, there is a character by the name, you can say by the name, John. John is of this age, he is into this profession, and this plot came in his life. He struggled, he went into conflicts, and then there was some mentor who guided him, and then he came out of this struggle. He achieved what he wanted to achieve in his life. This is idea. When we are narrating the story in one sentence, maybe one or two lines, but one sentence, one full stop, that becomes the idea of the film. Then comes the synopsis. Synopsis we divide according to the structure. First paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, act 1, act 2, act 3, beginning, middle, end. It becomes synopsis. And then when we go very descriptive manner, it becomes story. It includes more and more events. It gives more description. It becomes story. And when we are giving a proper shape, dialogues, character name properly, a proper format, then it becomes script. When we are taking story further and we become very descriptive in visuals, it becomes script. Then screenplay, as the name suggests, screenplay, whatever, however we are going to play this film on the screen. Maybe we are starting our film with scene number 5. So first in the screenplay, the scene 5 will come, then scene 6, then suddenly scene number 10. So whatever, however, we are going to watch the film on the screen with lot of visual description, with lot of action description, ambience description, character description, scene setup description, that becomes screenplay. Character's name, the dialogues of the character, it becomes screenplay. So we have a proper format internationally used for screenplay. Then shot division according to camera movements, camera shots, camera magnification, camera angles, lighting, editing. We are doing shooting script. Shot division is according to the camera, and shooting script is camera plus lighting plus editing plus sound plus audio. Everything comes under shooting script. And after that, some of the filmmakers, they use storyboarding also, means sketch of their shots, how they are going to make this set designing. So if a director is doing sketching or storyboarding for his shots, maybe one important shot of all these scenes, the very first shot of all these scenes, it will help not only the director filmmaker when he is while he is doing the shoot, he is doing the production, but also his team the assistant directors will also get to know that what are the expectations of their director. So they will arrange each and everything on the set according to that particular sketch. And this particular sketch of the shot is called storyboarding. So this is how D.W. Griffith, George Méliès, and other early filmmakers have used the paperwork. They started with the paperwork. They have used this narrative structure also. Now, very important thing that they have also used while making films was mise-en-scène. It's a French word which we have derived from theater. So whenever you are teaching or giving training to students or other professionals, a very important concept that you should discuss with them is mise-en-scène. Mise-en-scène is something that you cannot do proper filming. And if I have used the word technicalities, I have, in general used the word technicalities, means using of technology correctly, aptly, or suitably, that is called mise-en-scène. For example, let's start with the meaning first, then we'll give example. Mise-en-scène is a French word that means putting into the stage, because it has come from theater. So it means putting into the stage. What we are putting into the stage of the theater? One, we are putting into the stage the set, the characters, light also, makeup, costume of the character also, their movement, their action, right? These are the things that we are putting onto the stage. So arranging and placing of these elements onto the stage is called mise-en-scene. It's the arrangement or placing of all these elements. Now, when we have adopted this concept in films, so it has become, we have changed, modified the meaning, placing or putting into the scene, because in film we don't have stage, we have scenes. So now arranging the important elements like characters, their actions, their emotions, expressions, their makeup, costume, their blocking. Blocking means movement, that how they are moving within the frame, that is called blocking of the character. So elements, these are the elements, plus setting, set designing, ambience, the sets and properties, location, the art direction in totality is called setting, right? Or the set. It is also important element. Also camera and lighting, how we are using the camera, what angle we are using, what kind of lighting we are using, right? What magnification we are using. All these are camera and lighting. Lighting may include, bright light or dull light, natural light of the sun, or artificial light of some, baby light, or multi-10, multi-20 light, or HMI lights. So this also comes under important element. Then we have editing and sound, SFX, VFX. Most of us, we know about SFX. SFX is any special effects while we are shooting, like we are creating rain, we are creating artificial rain during the shoot. It is called special effect. We are, creating some kind of fire during the production, some kind of smoke or some kind of ice. These are special effects. And suppose we are creating some kind of effects during the post-production or on the editing table through CGI, it will become visual effects or VFX. For example, we wanted to show something on fast motion, so that we have created during post-production. For example, we want to show something like some kind of, smoke we are showing in the post-production through some software, it will become VFX. So this is the difference between special effects and visual effects. So mise-en-scene is an important thing for filmmakers, film directors to understand. It is one of the important things that we should understand very properly. Then only our technicalities will be correct. Now the example that we were talking about. Suppose as a filmmaker, you are supposed to capture a psychic or a mentally disturbed person. Your first shot that you are taking and making use of the mise-en-scene elements, how you will show this character, you will show this character, you will work with the emotion. Obviously, his emotions and expressions will be totally weird. Initially, only the audience will watch these emotions and expressions, and they'll get some knowledge or information. There's something wrong with this character. So these emotions and expressions, you have to ask the character to bring so weirdly, so that it will convey that what kind of character he is. Then blocking, maybe he's sitting on one side of the corner, he's sitting on the floor, right? This is the movement, or the kind of placement that we have given to him. The makeup, his makeup should be totally different from normal people. His costume should be different. Now the set and properties, the ambience of the room where he's sitting should have some kind of posters, paintings, which are again weird. It is not simple or smoothing paintings. The ambience is full of, maybe on wall he has painted some blood, some kind of, some weird things that will give the impression that this is again a weird person, that why his ambience is like this. Then camera work, when we are showing him in a confused state of mind, we want the audience also in a confused state of mind. Maybe we are taking high angle shot, then again next shot will be low angle shot, means we are confusing the audience. Maybe we are going closer, very close to the character's expressions, emotions. Maybe light we are putting like half lit and half dull to give this, gray shades of this character. And editing, obviously we are giving small duration. We are not, expressing or showing the entire character in his, entire world in a very good time. We are actually showing it in very short time. Sound, the kind of music that we are putting should be otherworldly sound, different from smooth sounds. So these are certain elements that we should use while we are actually capturing a simple scene, so that it should complement, it should go along with our subject. Subject means whatever theme we are working on. So this will bring the correct technicalities, right? So now your assignment will be that you have to shoot a very small 30-second video, a very small 30-second to 1 minute video with your mobile phone. No sound. If you want to put sound, you can put, but I don't want sound. I want visuals. So just create a character for yourself, any character. For example, I have talked and discussed about a weird character. You just take any character, maybe a sports person, maybe a writer, maybe a painter. Just capture that character, maybe a student only, maybe your son only, maybe your father, maybe anyone from your family member. Just capture him, her, and just try to establish with his emotion, expressions, makeup, costume, and just show the ambience also. Try to use the camera and lighting in apt manner, suitable manner. For example, if you are showing any character weak, you should take a high angle shot. If you are showing any character, strong, you should take a low angle shot. All these technologies you have to use. And then you have to, submit this 30 seconds, minimum 30 seconds video on my email ID. I will send my email ID with this PPT just after the session. And you can submit this small video on my, email, and I will watch that film tomorrow. You should, submit that film today, take tomorrow, but at least till 5, tomorrow till 5 p.m. or I'll give you more time, till 7 p.m. you can submit the film. And after 7, tomorrow after 7, I will watch all these films. I will give you the feedback and we can discuss this film in the class also if you want. But I will definitely give you feedback through email.